there, fictional friends, and welcome to another episode of Fully Booked. I'm Megan.
And I'm Shireen.
And we are smack dab in the middle of our coverage of apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic fiction for the month of January. So in continuing with that theme, I think we thought we'd go a lot less stupid than we did with the first one.
Yeah, I guess that's an apt description.
Yeah, that's it. So our first week, we covered The Host, which was Stephenie Meyer making a vague attempt to step outside of the Twilight universe, and obviously it didn't work for her because she's never tried again.
Went right back into the Twilight universe.
Oh yeah, she's never tried again.
No.
So.
And like, you know what? Like, hats off to her. She knows what she's good at.
It's only one thing. You know what? Sometimes, you know what? If you know what your strength is, you should just play to that.
Just really, milk it for everything.
So, this week, we're going to be taking a step in the complete opposite direction, and we're going to be talking about the 2009 adaptation of Cormac McCarthy's The Road.
How many people do you think are still alive?
In the world? Not very many. It is cold and growing colder as the world slowly dies. No animals have survived, and all the crops are long gone.
I won't survive another winter here.
We gotta keep moving. Head south to the coast.
The movie came out, maybe 3 years after the book, 2 years after the book, 3 years after the book? I think the book's from 2005 or 6 or something. I believe so.
Yep.
So hang on a second. You know what? I'm going to tell you.
I thought it was earlier.
If I can find it. 2006.
All right, okay.
Yeah. So yes. Okay, well, let's just start off with the ratings really quickly. 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb, 74% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, I think it's really hard I guess, describe something like this or talk about, I guess, how you feel about it. It's really difficult. This is like the kind of movie that's really difficult to do that with, I find, because I don't think that anybody can say that it's a badly made film.
Oh, definitely
It's an excellently made film. The performances are very good. Yeah. The atmosphere is exactly what it should be for the story that's being told. But it's one of those, I guess, like beautifully sad movies that you will watch once and then never watch again.
But then think about for the rest of your life.
And then think about forever, basically. Yeah, that's it. So it stars Viggo Mortensen in the lead role, and I think it's Kodi Smit-McPhee is the kid. McPhee, sorry.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're right. Plays his son. Charlize Theron also has a small role in this film as Viggo Mortensen's wife. And there are other very famous actors just sprinkled in. They all get one scene.
Yeah.
Because the majority of the time we're following the father and son character, who are like the main characters in the novel as well as in the film. They don't have names, and I'm sure that this was ambiguous in the novel as well on purpose.
Yeah.
So Viggo Mortensen is man, Kodi Smit-McPhee is boy, and Charlize Theron is woman, because I think that the whole point of this is that it's post-apocalyptic, and this could be any person could be experiencing basically exactly what these characters are experiencing at this time. Mm-hmm. I don't know how much we need to get into, there are such sort of long scenes and things in the film that I don't think that we need to go into too much detail about. You can get a pretty good idea of it. An apocalyptic event took place. Viggo Mortensen
is basically dead.
Yeah, the Earth is basically dead and is slowly but surely dying. It seems like there's never any sunlight. It's
dry.
It's very dry.
There's fires that are happening
that pop up everywhere. Things are just caving in all over the place because it just seems as though that's it. The Earth has given up on itself pretty much, and so is slowly but surely wasting away.
Yeah,
and along with that, obviously, a lot of people are wasting away. It seems that pretty much most animals have died, and so cannot be used for food either. And, the majority of plant life is dead as well. So there's a lot of struggle in order to be able to find food, clean water, any resources that you would really have. And it's, I guess at the beginning of the story, it's been this way for a number of years. I want to say maybe 7 or 8 years. I don't know how old the kid is supposed to be.
I think the kid is supposed to be about 8.
Okay, so about 8 years.
So Cormac McCarthy wrote this book because he was quite an old father. So he had his son when he was a lot older. I want to say 70 years old or something, 60, 70 years old. And so man and boy in the book are supposed to be Cormac McCarthy and his son.
Yeah.
And it's really, he wrote the book to show that that there's hope. Even in the worst types of situations, you can find the best in people.
Yeah. Also, rest in peace, Cormac McCarthy. He passed away in June of 2023.
There you go. So
at 89 years old.
Yeah, okay. So, yes. So he was quite a bit older when he had his son. And, going back to your point, this is happening over a span of like a few years. It's quite shocking, the decline that happens. Like, they don't really, because they keep flashing back and forth to Viggo Mortensen and Charlize Theron, and you can see that like life is normal in some situations.
There was a time in which everything seemed perfectly normal before this started, obviously. Yeah, that's it. And it seems to have been, and again, like the majority of post-apocalyptic stuff, it seems to come out of nowhere.
Right.
Nobody really knows what's going on. Wow, I'm just looking at this Wikipedia page, and Cormac McCarthy and I shared a birthday. Isn't that funny?
You?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
That's funny.
And so basically what happens is, like throughout the course of the story, you find out that, Charlize Theron got pregnant probably, around the time that this whole apocalypse was happening.
Because she was already pregnant, that we see in the first scene where things start to happen. She was already showing.
Yeah. And so by the time she actually has the baby, like there's a big decline. Things are not good.
Yeah.
She's already saying like, what kind of life is this? Like, why are we doing this? I don't want to do this.
I think she's having such a crisis as well because she's realizing that she has no choice but to bring a child into this environment.
Right.
And I think she feels like, that's unfair to her, unfair to the child, unfair to him, and everything. And I think that it would be really, I'm sure that this was probably done purposefully as well. I believe that Cormac McCarthy co-wrote the screenplay for the film, which makes sense because I think that it sticks really closely to,
it does,
as much as possible anyway, to the sequence of events in the novel. I think that it would be really easy to vilify Charlize Theron's character for many of the choices that she makes throughout.
But it's totally understandable.
But I do feel like this is probably one of those stories that really posits, like, makes you stop and think of, like, and makes you stop, not to feel like you can't really judge people to an extent, because you really, no matter what we think, no matter how we feel about it, you do not know how you would react in a situation like this, short term or long term. I think long term is something that people do not think about often enough, what it would mean for years to go by.
It would have on you, to be scavenging for food. And so you see as they go back and forth in the movie, basically Charlize Theron's character gave up. She decided that she did not want to live anymore in this environment. It's quite sad because Viggo Mortensen, his character, basically begs her to stay with them and keep going, and she just can't. It's
just two really good actors portraying two very realistic people.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for you to kind of get swept up in it yourself and really believe that this is entirely a situation that could happen, even between yourself and a partner.
100%.
In a situation that was similar to something like this. So we've gotten all of the flashbacks that like walk you through like sporadically sort of a time when they were happy versus after all of this occurred. Obviously she had the baby, several years passed, and she just decided she just couldn't deal with it anymore, and so decided to, end her life. And then, everything that's happening in present is really the man and the child struggling to survive the majority of the time. Most of the interactions that they have, particularly, I do like that the interactions that they have with other people who they come across at the beginning of the story are very negative, because we're given to understand that cannibalism has become quite rampant in this world because of the complete lack of food. So a lot of people, unfortunately, have banded together in these groups, and anyone that they come across, they'll kill and eat. Basically.
Pretty horrific scenes around this. Like, this movie is quite graphic in some ways.
It's quite visceral. It's not overly physically graphic, but it's just, you understand what's happening, and as soon as you understand the specifics of that, it's very visceral, and your reaction to it would be as well, obviously. And I think that I find it interesting that that's it. What they start off with are like, you know, sort of the gangs of like cannibals and things like that who are trying to hunt people down. And you slowly but surely throughout the course of the story, their interactions with the people that they come across become more and more positive because they come across people who are more positive as well.
Yes. I mean, I don't know if I would use the word positive.
Well, I don't know how else to describe it.
The boy calls them the good guys and the bad guys.
Yeah, well, because as a child as well, like there's no other way to interpret it.
Yeah.
And throughout history, that's how we've interpreted things. Good versus evil, good people versus bad people, white hats versus black hats.
No.
You know, and how we interpret that as like a positive and a negative or like two contrasting kind of viewpoints about things. But obviously that's not what people are like. Everyone has some positive and negative in them in the first place. And again, desperate circumstances like this would cause people to behave out of character and potentially, you know, act in ways that they really never would have otherwise.
100%.
Yeah.
And, you know, we were kind of joking around watching this movie. Like, I kept saying, like,
well,
it's
Shireen
so
was, 'cause
sad
she's
and
so
bleak.
upset.
Like, it's just so bleak. And, you know, the whole point of it, again, is, like, to demonstrate that thread of hope, you know, even in the worst circumstances.
Yeah.
So they do have some interactions with other characters that are
And they also
okay.
Yeah, and they also have, I mean, the entire point, I think, of the character of the boy is to be that thread of hope throughout, right?
Yeah.
Is, you know, because his attitude is much more positive and he wants to see the best in every person that they come across and that they interact with in any way, shape, or form. You know, and that kind of starts when they meet an old man who's partially blind, I think.
Yeah.
Well, partially, not less than he leads you to believe because he can see things just fine when he wants to. You know, they have an interaction with him on the road because they're trying to go south to get somewhere warmer because, of course, since there's no real sun out, everything is cold and dying. And so they think if they get somewhere closer to the south and closer to water and the coast, then maybe they'll be able to, you know, make it.
And also, like, when things are like this, like, you have to have something that you're working towards.
100%. You
like,
need a goal.
Otherwise, what are you going to do, you know?
Well, that's it. Exactly. You need some sort of goal. Even if your goal is just surviving in general, finding food, finding water, finding shelter, whatever it is, you do need something. You can't just, if you sit in one spot, you'll just wither away and die very slowly.
100%.
So no one would really want to deal with that. So, yeah, they do have, like, one interaction with this older man who, again, that's it. Like, you know, sort of like the dad wants to just like leave him and the kid is like, no, we should give him food. We should do this for him. We should do that for him. We should help him kind of thing. And they do have like, you know, a conversation and an interaction as well, again, about there having to be hope. There having to be something to work towards as they continue on again. There's like a lot of sort of like much more graphic stuff with a group of cannibals, unfortunately, who they stumble upon who are keeping a whole bunch of people in their basement and they eat parts of them at a time.
It's just
really
awful.
Yeah, it's really gross. So there's like, you know, like there's a lot like sort of more like, I guess, violent stuff that happens. It's not terrible, but there is another aspect
horrible
of
scene with a woman and a baby where they
kid.
eat the baby.
Oh, you don't really see that in the movie though.
They show it very, very quickly.
It's the woman running away with her kid. She's got like a kid who can run on their own.
There's another scene, and I can't remember. It happens so fast, but I remember from seeing this movie in the past, where they kind of go up behind like a group after they've left their campsite.
Okay, yeah.
And they find like bones, but they only show it very briefly.
Oh, like baby bones?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yes, sure.
So, but in the book, like, it's a lot more graphic.
Yeah.
Because, like, this is, like, widespread, this attitude of, like, get a woman pregnant, eat the baby. Like,
yeah, like, don't keep the baby, obviously, because it's just another mouth to feed.
Yeah.
So really, like, use the baby for food, which is, like, the slowest process in the world.
Oh, but it's horrible.
It takes 9 months to have a child. It's insane.
I know. I think it was just more for the shock factor.
Probably.
Yeah.
There are moments of reprieve a little bit. There is like a farmhouse that they stumble upon and they find a really big storm shelter outside with, that's really stocked with food and essentials and things that they'll need. And they, you know, do get like certain aspects of things working enough to be able to like shower, clean themselves up a little bit, do all of that stuff. And stay there for, I want to say maybe a couple of weeks or something.
Yeah, I think so.
Before, again, the dad's paranoia kicks in because they hear people in some way, and a dog, which is weird because, like, what?
Most people would have just eaten the dog.
That's it. So they do hear that, and then, of course, he gets too paranoid. He's like, no, we can't stay here. We just have to pack up what we can on, like, a small wagon and bring it with us, which they do, again, decide to do. They do manage to make it eventually to the coast. They run away from people a few times and stuff. They do manage...
They realize there's nothing there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, like some of the water's dried up. Obviously, not all of it, but some of it, because there's like a whale carcass, like bones from a whale carcass on the beach and stuff. And they do realize, unfortunately, that it's not sunny there all of a sudden. It's not warmer there. And they, they're going to keep going because, again, you need to work towards something. Slowly but surely, Viggo Mortensen's character has been becoming more ill throughout the passage of the film, because there's
a lot of, like, smoke in the air and stuff.
It's like a smog that just exists everywhere. It's like in our area, for instance, what was it? It would have been this past, like, summer of 2023, there were a lot of pretty severe forest fires up north in our area, and a couple of a little ways over in the Maritimes and stuff in Canada, and we're closer to the city, so we didn't really get very much of that, but we got a lot of the after effects, and there were actually, like, quite a few weeks where there was a really high level of smog on and off for periods of time. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. We were, if you go out and about, it's like everything smells weird. It feels thick in the air. It's a very strange kind of thing to be, like, experiencing if you're not used to it. So we had quite a bit of that. And it sort of reminded me of that, just thicker. Like, you can see it as opposed to just, like, smelling it when you go outside.
Right.
So I know that, like, inhaling that after a period of time, like, eventually it's going to have an effect on your health, obviously. Yeah. And, he's more likely, it's normal. He's a father. He gives most of the food to the kid, and the water and everything else that they have. The majority of it goes to the child, for him to be sustained, which it would. And that's expected. That's totally normal. I think pretty much every parent would do that.
Right.
So he's been becoming more and more ill. They do, again, have an interaction with a man. So there's a ship that's sort of semi-shipwrecked, I guess, just like not too far of a swim away, basically. It's kind of like been grounded there. Yeah. So Viggo Mortensen swims off to go and look for supplies.
Inspect.
Exactly. In on the ship, and see what he can find. The son falls asleep, and there's at first unseen figure, a man who approaches, has a knife. You kind of think something violent might happen, but it doesn't. He just steals all of the stuff.
Yeah, all their food, and all their clothes.
Exactly. So when the dad comes back, he's like, "What the fuck? What happened?" I do appreciate. I like pretty much all the interactions between the father and son. I find are really good in this, and that. Even when the kid does something, he falls asleep and he doesn't keep an eye on the stuff at the camp or this or that. He gets sick at one point and he has a fever and everything. Dad never blames him for anything.
He's just
like,
dad.
It's not your fault. Like, you're not doing anything wrong, and he's a child.
Yeah, well, he's just a good dad.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Like, the level of devotion there is kind of what you would expect it to be. Basically, he takes off running and is like, no, we're going to get our stuff back. They catch up to the man who's stolen it, who's just like, that's it. Again, somebody else who's just desperate, played by Michael K. Williams. Rest in peace. He passed away a couple of years ago. Really good actor. Who, again, is like, you can just see, it's just one scene, but you can see, like, the desperation on his face of like, no, I'm not giving you anything. And then when, the dad points a gun at him and everything, and he makes him, like, strip off all his clothes and stuff too. He's just like, please don't do this, and the kid is fighting him, because again, the kid is the thread of positivity and hope of being like, don't do that. We should help him. We should do something.
He's just hungry. He's
just desperate the way that we are,
And he keeps saying to his dad, like, we're supposed to be the good guys.
Yes,
we're supposed to be the good guys.
And again, that's normal. I think when you are a kid, like, you'll classify things in good or bad. Like, there's not really much gray area. And the older you get, the grayer everything kind of becomes to an extent.
Right.
And in circumstances like this, I would think the gray area would just all be gray. It's all gray.
Everything. The whole movie's gray.
Oh, my God. Yeah. The entire movie has a gray filter over top of it. There's no sun. Nothing is nice. And I guess they do a good job that way of the flashback scenes. Everything is very bright and sunny, so you get a lot of that, and much more colorful. The grass is green, the clothes that they're wearing are brighter.
It's just shocking, like, the amount, like, the decline that happened.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like you're saying, in a span of about 7-8 years.
And like, even if, let's say, there was no grass when she was pregnant and stuff, like, it was still within the lifetime that they had together.
Yeah.
So it would have been within like a 20-year span, let's say, maximum.
At the absolute most. Yeah, that's it.
And just like, okay, so they went from having like a normal life to like the whole planet is dead.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And it is interesting to see as well throughout the sort of course of things, again, because, it brings forth that idea of children being born into this reality and never having known anything other than that. Like, they've just done that, I was saying, when we were watching it on The Last of Us, right? Yeah. They do that with The Last of Us, is like Ellie and a lot of the kids her age. She's, 15 she's supposed to be.
They never knew
it because this has been 24, 25 years of this, basically, has been going on.
Which, I mean, you could argue that it's almost better to not know the difference. Like,
I think so, especially for young people. I would think, like, if you had only had a glimpse of a few years of something nice and normal, you would hope that you just wouldn't remember it even, because it would just be so horrible. It would be harder for older people, like the older characters,
the old way of
because you had this, like, normal, and I'm sure in comparison, like, wonderful existence before all of this happened. Anyway, so they get their anyway, they get their stuff back. They do go back to the coast, like the beach, pretty much, which is where they are. And this is kind of where we hit like the full decline at the end of the film, because Viggo Mortensen's character, like I said, has been getting progressively more ill, and we're really hitting the point now where like he's not going anywhere else. Like he's not, he's not making it past this point.
And he knows it, and he starts like telling his son, like, make sure you do this, make sure you do that.
Yeah,
like,
to be aware of
his last few words of wisdom.
But also like not in like a horribly negative way either, where it's really like, make sure you're kind of taking care of yourself and doing this and that, but also like don't give up, like keep going, don't stay here for too long, move on and be willing to do that. And you're like, okay. I also, that's true, I didn't mention it before, but I really what I found was smart and really realistically done is all of the characters that are coming into contact with one another, the older characters, there's such a level of paranoia.
Yes.
Because there are different interactions, where they're attacking each other. There's like one instance where they are attacked by this couple that are in this random house somewhere. And Viggo Mortensen gets like shot in the leg with an arrow, and he's gotten a flare gun from that ship, and he shoots it and hits whoever the guy was who did that straight in the chest and kills him. Yeah. And when he goes into the house, obviously the guy's like partner, whatever, she's in there as well, and she's like yelling at him that like, how could you do that and stuff? And he's like, well, you were following us. And she's like, no, you were following us. And you just see the level of paranoia that exists with these people, where it's like, that's like what would happen eventually, is that everybody's like, everyone's out to get me. Yeah. There's always someone like trying to take my stuff, trying to kill me, trying to do this, trying to do that. And I think that's like exactly what would happen under these circumstances.
100%.
Oh yeah.
You have nothing.
No.
So you have to protect the
little that you do have with your life, basically. And that's exactly what they're doing. So yeah, they do have their final sort of scenes together. In the morning, the son wakes up and the father's passed away. And he, decides he stays with him for a bit, but then he decides he's going to get his stuff together, and do exactly what his dad said, which is, keep moving, keep going. Yeah. When he's kind of standing by the beach, he's approached by a man who,
Guy Pearce.
Yeah, I know. Again, they're all there for one scene. It's weird. Yeah. That's it. So Guy Pearce approaches him and is, kind of like, hey, I saw you, we had seen you, you're with your dad. Where is he, kind of thing? And the kid tells him, like, his dad died. He said he was my dad, so he died. And the guy's like, do you want to come with me? Yeah. And the kid is like, I shouldn't go with you, kind of thing. And he's like,
you're gonna eat me?
Yeah, you're gonna do this or do that. He's like, no, I don't do that. And he says, I forget what it is that the kid says specifically. And the son says, do you have this? And he says, yes, we do. And the kid's like, we,
Yeah.
And then that's it. He basically is like, yeah, we have kids.
Yeah. And we didn't mention it, but like throughout the movie, and this kind of goes back to your paranoia point.
Yeah.
The boy says things like, he catches glimpses of this family, and he says to his papa, there's a boy. I just saw a boy.
I saw a boy.
I just heard a dog. I saw a dog,
And the dad's like, stop. Like
you're obviously like delirious.
That's
from
it. Or
hunger.
if he hears the dog too and he admits it and he's like, yeah, but that means there's people with it, but in a negative way. What we do come to find out is that Guy Pearce's character has a wife and 2 children, a boy and a girl, and they have their dog. And so those are actually the people who've been following them. I believe that we're led to understand that they, at that farmhouse where they found the storm shelter, they figured out that they were there at the same time. Yeah. And then I think that the wife particularly, she only has like a few lines, but from what I understand, she was very nervous about this man traveling with his one son.
Yeah, she was worried that he was going to eat him.
And I think that she convinced her husband, like, we have to follow and make sure that everything's okay. So I think they had been following at a distance for like a while after all of this happened. And so at the end, they ask him, like, you know, we're so happy that you're okay and we'd like you to come with us. And so he winds up like with them, basically.
And so there's that hope again. Like, so going back to, you know, Cormac McCarthy, who wrote this book for his son, it was like, you know, there is good in people, you know, the people will give you hope. There's always something, you know, positive that can come out of it. And when I read this book, I was actually studying it in school, and we did a comparison with 1984. And it was quite a stark comparison between like the tone of like the British written 1984 versus The Road, where the whole point of it was hope, like hold on to that hope, right? Like never give up. The mom gave up, but you shouldn't give up because there's always something that can happen around the corner. Whereas 1984, it's like, well, we're all gonna die and we better just get in line, and that's about it, you know.
Oh well,
like we're done.
Yeah, it's true. I think in terms of an adaptation, in terms of the film making itself, the performances, everything, excellent. But if you're looking for something like a fun, easy watch, it's absolutely not that. It is very dark. The subject matter is like disturbing at times, so just be aware of that. But it's an excellently made film. You know what I haven't checked actually is how much money this movie actually made. It barely made back its own budget. It had a budget of $25 million. The box office was 27.6. And I think I want to say, I don't know if I'm like reading too much into this, but I also want to say that this came out in November of 2009. This was like a year after the crash in the States. Yeah. And I have to wonder to an extent if this was just bad times all around and people were, you know, just not looking for a really dark, really upsetting film at the time.
It's also like, I feel like if you hadn't read the book, if you didn't really know what this was about, like, you wouldn't be like, oh, hey,
this looks like a fun time.
like my only motivation to see this movie in the first place, and I did see it back in 2009, because that's when I was actually studying the book, because I was at A-level at the time. Or was it 2010? Anyway,
close enough to when it had come out.
When it came out. Like, the only motivation to watching this movie ever
was because you'd read the book.
Because I'd read the book.
Of course, and you'd done like a whole analysis of it. Yeah.
But like nobody was going to be like, hey, you know what will be a really good time?
Oh my God, yeah. Do you know what'll be a fun night at the cinema for everyone together? Like, just go with a few friends and you leave and just be like, I'm sad now.
I'm so sad forever. Yeah. Pretty much.
Yes, but it's an excellently made film. No one's surprised. Viggo Mortensen, so the movie's probably going to be pretty decent.
And, you know, was the book better? The book was very well written. Yeah. One of those, same thing, you're going to read it once and then never look at it again. I would say that because Cormac McCarthy helped with the screenplay and because the actors were so good, I would say that, you know, it's just one of those really great adaptations.
Yeah, like it's just a kind of an on par situation.
Like I wouldn't even say like one or the other. I would say that they really complement each other really well because if you've read the book,
you'll really appreciate the film. I'm sure
you'll appreciate the visual of the film, and so they kind of go hand in hand. Is what I would say.
Okay, well that makes sense. But have you guys, I'd like, you know, because it's been quite a while since the movie's come out as well. So have you guys read the book? Have you watched the film? Have you done both of those things?
Did you think it was a good night at the movies?
Yeah, that's it. Maybe you did. Maybe it's just us. I don't know. You can let us know about that over on Instagram, TikTok, or Threads at FullyBookedCA. And you can also check out our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/book was way better. But until next week, guys, keep on reading.
Thanks, everyone.